The war was finally over, but Captain Ethan Cross could not feel peace. He stood on a high ridge of blackened stone and looked down at the alien city below. Smoke rose in slow, twisting shapes. The buildings of Myrath, once silver and bright, were now broken towers and scattered glass. The air smelled of burned metal and strange chemicals. Ethan pulled his breathing mask tighter as he walked down the slope with careful steps. The silence felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Ethan was a soldier of the United Earth Forces. For 7 long years he had fought in battles across empty space. He had seen fleets burn, cities fall, and soldiers disappear into darkness. He had lost friends and watched enemies die. Now the treaty was signed. The fighting had stopped, but victory felt like a ghost. There were no cheers here, only ruins. His orders were simple: search the city for survivors. The war had ended too suddenly for everyone to escape. Many civilians had hidden during the last attack. Ethan moved through broken streets, scanning with a handheld sensor. Every few steps the machine beeped softly, marking fallen machines or fragments of alien energy. The deeper he went, the more he saw the strange beauty of this world. Even in ruin, the walls shimmered with faint blue light. Shattered crystal gardens glowed beneath the smoke like stars trapped in stone. Ethan kept his rifle ready, though he doubted any enemy soldiers remained. Old habits did not fade easily. His boots crunched on cracked pavement as he turned a corner and entered a wide plaza. Here a great statue of a Myrathian guardian still stood, though one wing had broken away. Its tall shape cast a long shadow across the rubble. Then he heard a sound, a faint cry like a soft voice carried by the wind. Ethan froze. His sensor flickered with a single life sign, weak but clear. He followed the signal toward a fallen building at the edge of the plaza. The walls were split open, metal beams bent like paper. A narrow doorway leaned half open, light spilling from inside. "Hello?" Ethan called, his voice steady but gentle. "I am a soldier of Earth. The war is over. I mean no harm." There was a pause, then a quiet answer in accented standard. "Please help me." Ethan stepped inside. The room was dim, lit by the blue glow of cracked energy panels. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Near the far wall, a figure knelt among broken furniture. It was a woman, her long silver hair shining even in the gloom. Her skin held a soft violet tone marked by thin patterns that looked like flowing water. She wore a long, dark robe with silver edges, the fabric torn but still graceful. The woman turned her face toward him. Her eyes were large and luminous, filled with sorrow. She held one arm close to her body as if it hurt. Ethan lowered his weapon at once and approached carefully. "I'm here to help," he said. "Are you injured?" The woman nodded faintly. "My name is Lysera," she whispered. "My arm is cut, but it is not deep. I cannot stay here." Ethan knelt beside her and checked the wound. It was a clean slice, probably from falling metal. He cleaned it quickly and wrapped a bandage from his kit. As he worked, he noticed the way she tried to stay calm, her back straight despite the pain. "You speak our language well," Ethan said, trying to keep her focused. "I studied during the war," Lysera replied softly. "I was a diplomat's wife. My husband believed that one day our people would talk, not fight." Ethan glanced at her face and saw the heavy grief hidden behind her careful words. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Did he survive the attack?" Lysera lowered her eyes. "No. He stayed behind to protect the children of our district when the soldiers came. He gave his life for peace, but peace came too late for him." For a moment the silence returned, heavy and sharp. Ethan felt the weight of her loss. He had lost comrades, but this was different. She had lost the person she loved most, and still she sat here with dignity. "You don't have to stay in this ruin," Ethan said after a pause. "My team is clearing the area. We can take you to a safe zone." Lysera looked at him with a sudden fierce light in her eyes. "Please," she said, her voice trembling now. "Take me away from this city. If I stay, the Dominion will call me traitor because my husband wanted peace. They will punish me for his dream. I have nowhere else to go." Ethan felt a tight pull in his chest. Her plea was not just for shelter. It was a call for survival, for freedom from a world that had turned cruel. He thought of the strict rules back on Earth, the endless arguments between leaders. Bringing an alien refugee would be risky, but he could not leave her behind. "We'll get you out," Ethan said firmly. "I can't promise everything will be easy, but I won't let them hurt you." Lysera's eyes softened with a faint glow of relief. "Thank you, Captain." "Captain Ethan Cross," he said. But you can just call me Ethan. She tried to stand, but her legs trembled. Ethan offered his hand steady and strong. Lysera accepted it with quiet grace, letting him guide her to her feet. For a brief moment, their eyes met. Human soldier and alien widow, two strangers bound by war and loss. Something unspoken passed between them, a spark of understanding that went beyond language. They stepped out of the broken room into the cold evening light. Above them, the sky of Myrath burned with two setting suns, their fading gold painting the ruins in bittersweet colors. Ethan activated his comlink and called for an extraction shuttle. His voice was calm, but his heart beat fast. This mission was no longer just about duty. It was about a promise. One he had silently made the moment he saw Lysera's eyes. As they waited, Lysera looked across the shattered city. "This was once the heart of our culture," she said softly. "Songs used to echo through these towers. Children played in the crystal gardens. Now it is silent." Ethan followed her gaze and felt the same ache. War had stolen beauty from both their worlds. But maybe, he thought, helping her escape could be a small step toward something better. When the shuttle finally appeared, its lights cutting through the dusk, Ethan guided Lysera aboard. She sat near the window, her face calm but her hands folded tightly in her lap. Ethan took the seat across from her, watching the ruined city shrink as they rose into the sky. For the first time in many years, Ethan felt a fragile hope. He did not know where this path would lead, whether Earth would welcome her or whether new dangers would come. But he knew one thing with certainty. He would protect this brave woman no matter the cost. The stars began to shine above the dark horizon. The war was over, but a new journey had just begun. The shuttle hummed softly as it cut through the dark sky of Myrath. Captain Ethan Cross sat near the window, his helmet resting on his lap. Beside him, Lysera watched the ruined city below grow smaller and smaller, until it became only a faint glow on the horizon. Her eyes were calm on the surface, but her folded hands betrayed a quiet tension. Every few moments her fingers tightened as if she feared the world might pull her back. Ethan studied her from across the narrow aisle. The strange patterns on her violet skin caught the soft cabin light, shifting like flowing rivers. He wondered what life had been like for her before the war, before smoke, treaties, and loss. For years, Earth had painted the Myrathians as cold and dangerous, but nothing about the quiet woman before him fit that image. "You should rest," Ethan said gently. "We have a long flight before we reach the orbital station." Lysera turned her gaze to him, her silver hair brushing against her shoulders. "I cannot rest," she replied. "Not until I know where I will go next." Her voice carried both strength and worry. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You'll be safe at the station," he assured her. "From there we can transfer you to a neutral zone. The treaty gives civilians the right to relocation." Lysera looked away, her eyes fixed on the endless black of space beyond the window. "The neutral zones are not safe for me," she said quietly. "My people will see me as a traitor. The Dominion will send agents. They will not forgive my husband for seeking peace or me for surviving him." Ethan frowned. "You think they'll come after you even after the treaty?" "Yes," Lysera said. "There are factions within the Dominion that hate the peace. They believe anyone who speaks of friendship with Earth is an enemy. If they find me, I will disappear, and the dream my husband died for will vanish with me." Her words carried a weight that made Ethan's chest tighten. He had faced enemies on the battlefield, but this was a quieter, crueler danger. Assassins in the shadows. Revenge disguised as justice. "What do you want to do then?" Ethan asked, his voice steady. "Where would you feel safe?" Lysera turned to him, her luminous eyes meeting his with sudden intensity. "I want to go to Earth," she said. "Your world is strong, but also free. There I can honor my husband's wish for peace. There I can start again." Ethan blinked. Earth was not a simple answer. The war had left scars on both sides. Bringing an alien refugee, especially a high-status Myrathian, would ignite questions, maybe even anger. But when he looked at Lysera, he saw not an enemy but a person standing against the weight of hatred. He could not imagine telling her no. "Earth isn't easy," Ethan said slowly. "People are afraid. Some still see your kind as the enemy. If you come, you might face suspicion. Maybe worse." "I know," Lysera replied. Her voice did not waver. "But I would rather face open suspicion than hidden knives." Ethan respected her courage. He had met soldiers who could not speak with such quiet certainty. He nodded. I can take you, but it won't be simple. I'll need to clear it with command, and there will be questions. You'll need protection. Lysera lowered her head slightly, a gesture of gratitude. Thank you, Captain Ethan Cross. I have no one else to ask. Ethan felt a faint warmth at her words. He was trained to follow orders, to act without personal ties, but something about Lysera's trust reached past the shield he had built during the war. The shuttle docked with the orbital station an hour later. Through the small window, Earth's fleet ships drifted like silent giants, their metal surfaces catching the faint light of distant suns. Inside the station, soldiers and medics moved with practiced efficiency, guiding survivors to medical bays and safe zones. Ethan led Lysera through the bright corridors. People stared as they passed. Some eyes held curiosity, others unease. Lysera walked with quiet dignity, her long robe brushing against the polished floor. Even in grief, she carried herself like a figure from a forgotten legend. They reached the command desk where Major Reeves, Ethan's superior officer, waited. Reeves was a tall man with a sharp gaze that missed nothing. He looked from Ethan to Lysera, his brow furrowing. Captain, Reeves said. Report. Ethan stood at attention. Survivor located in Sector 4, civilian high priority, requesting immediate clearance for relocation. Reeves studied Lysera carefully. Name? Lysera of Myrath, she answered softly. Her voice was calm, but her hands tightened slightly behind her back. Reeves glanced at Ethan. You understand what you're asking, Captain? Bringing a Dominion citizen to Earth will cause trouble. The treaty barely holds as it is. I understand, Ethan said firmly, but she's in danger. Neutral zones are compromised. Earth is the only place where she'll be safe. Reeves tapped a finger against his datapad, thinking. Finally, he sighed. You're putting your career on the line, Cross. If the Council refuses, this will fall on you. I'll take responsibility, Ethan said without hesitation. Reeves studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Very well. Temporary clearance granted. The Council will review the case when you arrive on Earth. But be careful. Some factions on both sides will not like this. Ethan saluted. Understood, sir. As they walked away from the desk, Lysera looked at Ethan with quiet gratitude. You risk much for me, she said. Ethan shook his head. No one should be left to die because of politics. My duty is to protect life, not just borders. Lysera's eyes softened. My husband believed humans could see beyond war. Perhaps he was right. Their transport to Earth was scheduled for the next morning. Until then, they were given a small private room in the station's civilian wing. The space was simple but clean, with a single wide window overlooking the stars. Lysera stood by the window, her gaze fixed on the endless black beyond. Ethan watched her for a moment before speaking. You don't have to face this alone, he said. Whatever happens on Earth, I'll stand with you. Lysera turned, the faint blue glow of the stars reflecting in her eyes. You barely know me, she said softly. Why would you risk so much? Ethan thought for a moment. He remembered the ruined city, the broken statue, the way she had sat in the dust with quiet strength. He thought of all the battles he had fought and the lives he had seen lost to fear. Because it's the right thing to do, he said finally. And because I believe in what your husband believed, that we can be better than this war. For a long time, Lysera said nothing. Then she stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you, Ethan. Your courage gives me hope. They stood in silence, side by side, watching the stars drift across the void. Outside, the station's lights flickered like distant beacons, guiding travelers through the endless night. Inside, a fragile trust began to grow, something small but unbreakable. The journey to Earth would be long and full of risk. Factions within the Dominion would surely try to stop them. Some humans would greet them with fear instead of kindness. But in that quiet room, Ethan and Lysera shared a moment of calm, a promise unspoken but clear. The war was over, but the true test was only beginning. The next morning began with the soft hum of the station's internal alarms. Captain Ethan Cross woke at once, years of soldier's habit making his movements sharp and quick. Outside the window, the dark sea of space stretched forever, broken only by the faint glow of distant stars. It should have been peaceful, but Ethan felt a quiet tension in the air, like the stillness before a storm. Lysera stood near the window, her silver hair catching the soft station lights. She had not slept. Ethan could see the faint tiredness beneath her calm eyes. When she turned toward him, he noticed the way her hands were folded tightly, as if she feared they might tremble. "Did you rest at all?" he asked gently. "A little," Lysra said, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. "The stars are beautiful here. They remind me of my husband's stories about peace. But they also remind me how far I am from home." Ethan stepped closer, his boots soft on the metal floor. "You're not alone," he said. "We'll get you to Earth. That's a promise." Lysra gave a small, grateful nod, but the shadow of worry remained in her eyes. Their transport ship, the Aurora Lance, was scheduled to leave at mid-cycle. It was a mid-sized carrier, built for long journeys through deep space. Ethan escorted Lysra to the docking bay where officers and crew prepared for departure. Security scans checked every passenger carefully. The war might be over, but fear lingered like smoke after a fire. Major Reeves met them near the boarding gate. His sharp eyes moved from Ethan to Lysra. "All clear for departure," he said, handing Ethan a sealed data packet. "Your orders: deliver the civilian to Earth and report directly to the Council. But be careful. We've intercepted strange signals from Dominion sectors. Some factions don't accept the treaty. If they know who you're carrying, they might try to stop you." Ethan nodded. "We'll stay alert." Lysra listened without flinching, though Ethan saw her fingers tighten around the strap of her travel bag. She understood the danger. Still, she walked onto the Aurora Lance with quiet dignity, her long robe brushing the metal floor. The ship left the station with a low rumble, its engines pushing them into the endless night. From the viewing deck, the stars stretched like scattered diamonds across a velvet sky. Lysra stood by the wide window, her eyes following the silver trails of passing comets. "It's strange," she said softly. "I have crossed the stars many times, but this feels different. I am not a diplomat now. I am only a traveler with no world to call home." Ethan stood beside her. "You have a future," he said. "Home isn't just a planet. It's the people who care about you." Lysra turned to look at him. For a moment her eyes softened, and the sorrow in them seemed to ease. "Perhaps," she said. "Perhaps I will find that future on Earth." 2 days into the journey, the first sign of trouble appeared. Ethan was in the command bay when the ship's alarm blared a sharp warning. The pilot, a young lieutenant named Kara, turned sharply in her seat. "Captain, we have unidentified vessels approaching from Sector 12, she reported. "They're running silent, no official signals." Ethan leaned over the console. 3 faint blips glowed on the radar, moving fast. Their formation was tight, precise. They were not random traders or curious explorers. These were hunters. "Dominion ships?" Ethan asked. "Most likely," Kara said. "No other faction flies that pattern." Ethan felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. He opened the internal channel. "Lysra, stay in your cabin," he ordered. "Lock the door and don't open it for anyone but me." Her calm voice answered after a moment. "Understood." The Aurora Lance shifted course, engines flaring as it attempted to outrun the pursuers. But the enemy ships were fast, sleek Myrathian interceptors built for ambushes. "Can we jump to faster than light?" Ethan asked. "Not yet," Kara said. "The drive needs 5 more minutes to cycle." "Then buy us time," Ethan said. "Divert power to shields and prepare countermeasures." The ship trembled as enemy fire struck the outer hull. Shields held, but the deck beneath Ethan's boots shuddered with each impact. Crew members moved quickly, their faces tight with focus. This was no longer a peaceful escort mission. It was a race for survival. In her cabin, Lysra listened to the distant sounds of battle. She pressed her hands together, whispering a silent prayer in her native tongue. The Dominion had found her faster than she feared. They would not stop until they silenced her voice forever. But she trusted Ethan. In his steady presence, she had seen a strength that went beyond weapons. Back in the command bay, the ship's sensors flashed green. "Jump drive ready," Kara shouted. "Do it," Ethan commanded. The stars outside stretched into brilliant lines as the Aurora lance leapt into faster-than-light travel. A sudden quiet filled the cabin as the enemy signals vanished from the radar. Ethan exhaled slowly. Status? Shields at 60%, Kara replied. No serious damage, we're clear for now. Ethan tapped his comm link. Lysra, it's safe. You can unlock your door. He left the command bay and walked quickly to her cabin. When the door opened, Lysra stood inside, her eyes filled with both relief and quiet fear. They found us, she said softly. Yes, Ethan admitted. But we're safe for the moment. Lysra looked down at the floor. This will not stop, she said. They will follow us across the stars. They fear what I represent. Hope for peace. Ethan stepped closer. Then we'll stay ahead of them. You are under my protection. I won't let them take you. Her eyes lifted to his. For a heartbeat, the room seemed smaller, the stars outside brighter. You risk your life for me, she said. Why? Because it's the right thing to do, Ethan answered, and because your courage deserves a chance to survive. Lysra's eyes softened. In my culture, she said quietly, there is a bond called a soul vow. It is not a promise of love, but of trust, an oath to stand beside someone even when the world falls apart. You have given me such a vow without speaking the words. Ethan met her gaze, understanding the depth of her meaning. Then I accept it, he said simply. No matter what comes. The rest of the journey became a careful dance of caution. Ethan worked with the crew to plot unpredictable routes, avoiding known Dominion patrol paths. Every few hours, the sensors would pick up faint signals, maybe enemy ships, maybe shadows of old satellites. Each time, Ethan's heart tightened, but the Aurora Lance remained just ahead of danger. During quiet hours, Ethan and Lysra shared stories to fill the silence. She spoke of Myrath before the war, of crystal gardens where music floated through the air, of sky lakes that shimmered under twin suns. Ethan told her of Earth's forests, of rivers that sang through deep valleys, of the scent of rain after summer storms. Their words built a bridge between two worlds, each story a thread weaving them closer together. Though they came from different stars, they found a shared longing for beauty, for peace, for a future unmarked by battle. One evening, as the ship drifted in silent FTL travel, Lysra looked out at the endless night and said, Do you think your people will accept me? Ethan thought carefully before answering. Not everyone will. Some will fear what they don't understand, but there are many who will see you for who you are, and I'll stand with you through every step. Lysra gave a small, hopeful smile. Then I am not afraid. 3 days later, the Aurora Lance emerged from its final jump. Before them shone the blue and green sphere of Earth, glowing like a jewel against the darkness. Lysra pressed her hand to the window, her eyes wide with wonder. It's beautiful, she whispered. Ethan watched her face, seeing in her expression the fragile hope of someone reaching for a new beginning. But he also knew the danger was not over. The Dominion might have failed to catch them in space, but the challenges ahead, political battles, fearful crowds, could be just as dangerous. Still, as Earth's bright oceans filled the viewport, Ethan felt a quiet determination. They had outrun assassins and crossed the cold void of space. Whatever waited on the ground, they would face it together. The chase was over, but their true journey had only just begun. The Aurora Lance glided through Earth's upper atmosphere, the blue-green planet below shining like a living jewel. Captain Ethan Cross guided the ship carefully, keeping a steady hand on the controls. Lysra stood near the window, her eyes wide with awe. For the first time in many years, she saw a world untouched by war, at least on the surface. Forests stretched like green oceans and rivers glittered in sunlight, winding through mountains and valleys. Cities sparkled faintly, scattered across the landscape like clusters of stars fallen to the ground. Ethan glanced at her. This is Earth, he said softly. You're safe here. For now. Lysra's gaze lingered on the planet, a mix of wonder and worry in her violet eyes. I hope so, she whispered. Even in beauty, fear follows. Some will not welcome me. Ethan nodded. He knew she was right. Earth had been at war with her people. Even now, many humans would see her as an enemy. Their arrival would stir questions, suspicion, and perhaps anger. But Ethan was determined to protect her. He had promised, and he never broke a promise. The Aurora Lance landed at the United Earth Forces main station. It was a sprawling complex of metal towers and wide docking bays, bustling with activity. Humans in uniform moved quickly, giving orders, checking cargo, and scanning incoming vessels. Lizra followed Ethan down the ramps, her steps quiet and measured. Every pair of eyes that turned to look at her seemed to weigh her worth, to judge her presence. At the main command hall, Major Reeves awaited them again, flanked by officers and council representatives. When Lysra stepped forward, a murmur ran through the room. Some whispered in curiosity, others in suspicion. She was an alien, a high-ranking Myrathian civilian and a widow of the war. The council's decision would determine her future. Captain Cross, Major Reeves said, his tone measured. "You have brought a civilian from Dominion territory. Explain." Ethan stepped forward. "Lizra is not just a civilian," he said firmly. "She is the widow of a Myrathian diplomat who died protecting his people. She has no place to go within her own world. If we send her anywhere else, she will be hunted by Dominion factions who oppose peace. I request that Earth grants her temporary asylum until her case can be reviewed." The council members exchanged glances. Some nodded slightly, others frowned. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then one woman spoke, her voice calm but firm. "Captain Cross, do you understand that your request carries political risk? Many humans are still wary of Myrathians. Allowing her to stay could spark fear, protests, or even violence." Ethan did not hesitate. "Yes, ma'am. I understand. But leaving her in danger would be worse. I will personally ensure her safety and compliance with Earth's laws." Lysra stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. "I only wish to live in peace," she said. "I do not seek revenge or power. I only want a place to honor my husband's dream and help build a future without war." The council members studied her, some surprised by her calm and sincerity. She did not speak with the arrogance of a conqueror, nor the bitterness of a victim. She spoke with the courage of someone who had seen loss and refused to be consumed by it. After several tense minutes, the council voted. A few voices opposed, citing fear of unrest, but the majority agreed. Lysra was granted temporary refuge on Earth, under Captain Cross's supervision. The room sighed collectively, the tension slowly dissolving. Lysra bowed her head slightly. "Thank you," she whispered. Her eyes found Ethan's. "This would not have been possible without you." Ethan nodded, a faint smile crossing his face. "We still have much work to do. It is not over yet." The next days were not easy. Lysra had to adjust to Earth's strange customs, its languages, and its technology. Even small tasks like walking through crowded streets or using everyday machines seemed alien to her. Ethan guided her patiently, explaining systems and introducing her to those who could help. Despite the challenges, Lysra's courage never wavered. She approached every new experience with grace, her curiosity brightening even the most routine tasks. People could not help but notice her calm determination. Even those who were wary began to respect her. Yet fear and prejudice were never far. Some humans questioned her presence, whispering doubts about her loyalty. Security forces were extra vigilant whenever she traveled outside restricted areas, and news reports occasionally mentioned her arrival, sparking debate in councils and public forums. Through it all, Ethan remained her constant companion and protector. He guided her through paperwork, shielded her from uncomfortable attention, and defended her with quiet firmness when doubts arose. He had promised, and he kept that promise without question. One evening, Ethan and Lysra walked through a quiet garden on the station grounds. The garden was filled with earth flowers, soft grass, and the gentle sound of a fountain. For Lysra, it was unlike anything she had seen on Myrath. The sunlight filtered through tall glass panels, painted soft patterns on the floor. "It is beautiful," she said softly. "I have never seen such care for nature in the cities I have visited. Even war-torn areas had little of this." Ethan smiled faintly. "Yes, humans have ways to build beauty even after destruction. It takes effort, patience, and hope." Lysra walked slowly, her fingers brushing against the petals of a violet flower. "I see that now," she said. "Perhaps hope can exist even in the aftermath of war." They walked in silence for a few moments, listening to the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft splash of water. Then Ethan spoke again. Lysera, I need to ask you something. I've been with you since the ruined city. I've seen your courage, your dignity, your belief in peace, and I cannot deny that I feel something more than duty toward you. Lysera looked at him, her eyes wide but calm. I have felt it too, she admitted. It is strange but also natural. We are from different worlds, yet we understand each other in ways few could. Ethan nodded slowly, relieved that she felt the same. But it will not be easy, he said. People will question us. Some may try to stop this connection. We must be careful. Lysera stepped closer, her voice soft. Then we will face it together. I trust you, Ethan, I always have. For a long moment they stood side by side, looking at the garden, the fountain, and the stars beyond the glass ceiling. Outside, the station hummed with life, duty, and endless activity. Inside, a fragile bond grew stronger, unspoken yet deeply understood. Weeks passed as Lysera adapted to life on Earth. She attended council meetings, studied human customs, and even began teaching some Myrathian traditions to students curious about her culture. Ethan continued to guide and protect her, walking a careful balance between friendship, duty, and something deeper. Their connection grew slowly, naturally, as they faced challenges together. Enemies of peace whispered and plotted, but Lysera's presence and Ethan's steadfastness inspired many to see the value of reconciliation. Humans and Myrathians alike began to recognize that someone could rise above war and fear, building bridges instead of walls. One evening, after another long day of meetings and preparations, Lysera and Ethan returned to the quiet garden. The sun had set and soft lights illuminated the flowers. Lysera stood under a tree, her eyes reflecting the stars beyond the glass ceiling. Ethan, she said softly, I feel I am beginning to belong here, not completely but enough to see hope. And I have you to thank. Ethan stepped closer. You belong, he said, not just here but anywhere you choose. And I will always be here to help you find that place. Lysera's gaze softened, and for the first time since the ruined city, she smiled freely. The war was over. The trials on Earth were just beginning. But together they were stronger than fear, stronger than prejudice, stronger than doubt. In that quiet moment, beneath the stars and the soft glow of the garden lights, hope felt possible. A future of understanding, trust, and perhaps even love stretched before them. Fragile, yes, but undeniable. The Earth night was quiet, soft, and full of stars. Captain Ethan Cross stood on the balcony of the United Earth Forces station, looking out at the glowing planet below. The city lights twinkled like distant constellations, and the faint hum of life reached him even from high above. He felt a rare calm, though he knew challenges still lay ahead. Lysera joined him, her silver hair shimmering faintly in the soft light. She leaned lightly on the railing, gazing at the same stars, her violet eyes reflecting both hope and lingering sorrow. Earth is different than I imagined, she said softly. Beautiful, yes, but full of fear as well. Some humans do not trust me, and yet I feel a little more at home every day. Ethan turned to her, his expression serious but gentle. You have been brave, he said. Not just during the war or in space, but here as well. You've shown courage, patience, and hope. People are starting to see that too. Because of you, the council, civilians, even young cadets, they understand that peace is worth protecting. Lysera looked at him, a soft smile forming on her lips. I never imagined a human soldier could be so kind, she said quietly. You risked your life to protect me, guided me through your world, and never judged me for being different. I owe you more than words can say. Ethan shook his head. You owe me nothing. I only do what is right, and because I care. For a moment the wind was still and only the stars watched silently. Neither spoke for a long time, each lost in thought. The war was over, yes, but peace, trust, and acceptance were fragile things. They had crossed entire galaxies, faced enemy attacks, and navigated the suspicion of their own worlds. Yet in that quiet moment, they had built something stronger, a bond of trust that transcended species, language, and fear. The next days were filled with preparations for Lysera's permanent stay on Earth. The council finalized her asylum, granting her a home near the station under protection. Human historians and diplomats studied her culture carefully, eager to learn from a Myrathian perspective. Young cadets trained under her guidance, fascinated by her stories of Myrath skies and music-filled gardens. Lysera began to feel a place in this world. Not fully, but enough to imagine a future beyond survival. Still, there were difficulties. Not all humans welcomed her presence. Some whispered that a former enemy could never truly be trusted. Others feared that her influence might destabilize politics between Earth and the remaining Dominion territories. Ethan remained by her side through every encounter, guiding her words, defending her in meetings, and offering quiet support when suspicion or fear became overwhelming. Lysera noticed his constant presence, and her gratitude deepened. In his calm, protective way, he had become more than a soldier. He was a companion, a friend, a guide through a world that felt at times both hostile and confusing. And yet she realized there was something more, an unspoken connection growing stronger each day. One evening, after a long day of meetings and lessons, Ethan found Lysera standing alone in the small garden outside her temporary home. The soft glow of artificial lights illuminated her face, making her silver hair shine against the dark sky. She was silent, her eyes tracing the patterns of stars above, lost in thought. "Lysera," Ethan said softly, approaching her. "You've done well. You're adapting. People are learning to trust you." Lysera turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting the lights and stars. "Yes," she said quietly. "But sometimes I wonder if I will ever truly belong. My world is gone. Earth is not yet fully mine, and I am different." Ethan stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You belong," he said firmly. "Not just because you are here, or because the Council allowed it. You belong because you have the courage to stand for peace, for hope, and for life itself. Those qualities make you a part of any world willing to see them." Lysera looked at him, her eyes wide with emotion. "Do you really mean that?" she asked. "I feel like a stranger in this world." "I mean it," Ethan said. "You are not alone. I will stand by you always." For a long moment they were silent. Then Lysera stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ethan, there is something I must ask of you." Ethan's heart quickened. "What is it?" She took a deep breath, gathering courage. "I have no family left in the Dominion. I have no place to call home, no protector, no partner in life. I ask you, will you take me as your life partner? Not because of duty or fear, but because of choice. Because of trust. Because of hope." Ethan's chest tightened. Her words were gentle yet firm, carrying the weight of years lost to war and grief. He had never expected to hear such a plea, yet in his heart he already knew the answer. "Lysera," he said softly, "I have never believed in luck or fate, but something brought us together. You have shown me courage, hope, and trust, and I feel the same. I will gladly stand by your side, not as a duty, but as a choice. As your partner." Lysera's eyes glimmered with emotion. A small, radiant smile broke across her face. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of loss lift, replaced by a fragile but certain joy. "I am grateful," she whispered. "More than words can say." Ethan reached out, taking her hand gently. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter. The world below hummed with life, but for a brief moment time seemed to pause for them. Two beings from distant worlds, bound by trust, courage, and hope, stood together, ready to face whatever the future held. In the following weeks, their bond grew stronger. Lysera settled into her new home, guided by Ethan's patience and the warmth of human kindness. She began sharing her culture more openly, Mithrian music, storytelling, and philosophy. Children and adults alike listened with fascination, discovering beauty in a world they had once considered alien. Even the cautious council members came to respect her insight, seeing her as a bridge between two civilizations. Ethan remained a constant presence. He trained with her when she practiced defensive maneuvers, shared quiet meals, and explored parts of Earth she had never seen. Through shared challenges and small victories, their relationship deepened beyond duty and respect into trust and affection. In each other, they found a bond that transcended fear, politics, and species. One quiet evening, Ethan and Lysera returned to the balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Earth glimmered like distant stars echoing the heavens above. The air was calm, the night soft and full of possibility. Lysera rested her hand on Ethan's arm, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think our partnership, will change anything?" she asked quietly. "Will humans and Myrathians see hope through us?" Ethan looked out at the city below, then back at her. "I do not know," he admitted. "But I do know that courage and trust are contagious. If we stand together, openly and honestly, we can inspire others. One small act of hope can grow into something much larger. Lysera nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars. Then let us walk that path together, she said softly. Whatever comes, we will face it as partners. Ethan smiled. Yes, he agreed. Together, they stood side by side looking at the world below and the vast sky above. The war was over. Earth had challenges still, and Lysera's presence remained a spark of both hope and uncertainty. But they had crossed galaxies, faced danger, and built trust beyond fear. Their bond was a promise, one that reached beyond species, beyond worlds, beyond war. As the night deepened, they felt the first true peace in years. Not the silence of ruins or the temporary calm after battle, but the quiet certainty of shared purpose and mutual respect. The stars above shone witness to their vow, and Earth below waited, ready to embrace a new chapter of hope, understanding, and unity. Ethan reached for Lysera's hand, and together they looked to the future. A human and a Myrathian standing as equals, partners, and friends, symbols of a universe where courage, compassion, and trust could triumph over fear. For the first time in years, Lysera allowed herself to dream, and Ethan beside her knew that some journeys were not measured by distance or danger, but by the hearts we reach along the way. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was theirs. And together they would face it, fearless, hopeful, and united.